All right, thanks for joining us again in our three-part series. This is the third part. I'd like to ask you a question, a personal question. It's like, do you have a good friend? Do you have a good personal friend? I ask because we're reading a story about Jesus and his friends. Scripture actually says that we can be friends with Jesus. I picture it a little bit like this. If I have a good friend, or I have my wife who's a good friend, and we have a good relationship, and if I can multiply that good feeling by about 1,000,000, I'm still not at the right point of being able to have this close, personal, intimate relationship with Jesus. He can be our best friend. He can be your best friend too. Let's look at the text today. It's a good text. Let's see the ending of the text that we've started earlier. John 11, verses 39 through 44.
"Remove the stone," Jesus said. Martha, the dead man's sister, told him, "Lord, he's already decaying. It's been 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you heard me. I know that you always hear me, but because of the crowd standing here I said this, so they may believe you sent me." After he said this, he shouted with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The dead man came out, bound hand and foot with linen strips, and with his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Loose him and let him go."
We have an interesting picture. Jesus' friend has died. Jesus' good friends, Mary and Martha, they're suffering because their brother has died. But by the end of the passage, we have a great miracle. A dead man, a man that's been dead for 4 days, is raised to life again. I like verse 40. Verse 40 mentioned an interesting thing. If you believe, you'll see the glory of God. The glory of God's a great thing. It's a great picture. I like mountains. I grew up in Colorado where there's beautiful mountains. I've been in the Caucasus a little bit down by, I've seen Elbrus and Dumbai and been to Austria and Switzerland. And these are grand and glorious things to see. And again, to take the picture from what we had before, if you multiply that by 1,000,000, you're starting to get a little bit closer to the glory of God. It's great to see the glory of God. If you believe, you'll see the glory of God. That's a good choice. That's a good question. I'd like Albina to read verses 45 and 46, and we'll talk about that a little bit too.
Therefore, many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw what he did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done.
Jesus has raised Lazarus, and as people observe this, they are amazed. And many people choose to believe that Jesus is from God, that Jesus is God. They decide to follow him and trust in him. Others, they actually went off to talk to some other religious leaders in this case, and discuss how they can get rid of Jesus, how to get rid of him, how to eventually kill him. We have a choice too. We have a choice to believe or to not believe. As we read Scripture together today, and as you can read it any day if you just get a Bible or have a Bible and you read it, and you can see the great miracles that he does there. But also, if you actually think about your life, I'm guessing that you can look at your life and kind of see the ways that God has worked, that Jesus has worked in your life. And each time that you see Jesus, each time you see something that he does, you get a choice to believe or not to believe. Think seriously about that question. It has eternal consequences. Those who believe and accept Jesus, he receives as a friend. Those who don't, he casts aside. Think about this and make a good decision. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week.